do have to get rather close, so when you are speaking.
Good evening. I have the pleasure of introducing three new staff members kind of under the umbrella of the Office of Special Education. I'm going to start with Andrea Wannebald. She is actually, yeah, you can stand up. Occupational therapist for the school district, and she has worked in our district for quite a few years through our contract with Banner Health, and now she's our full-time occupational therapist. So I'm so happy to have her on board, and everyone, she serves all of our buildings in the school district, so it keeps her pretty busy. And I know it's been a little difficult getting schedules figured out, but we're making it happen, and just really happy to have her on board. We also hired another returning employee, Lori Rawson. She's a speech language pathologist for us. She promised me 1 year because she actually retired in the state of Nebraska. I'm really hoping she loves it so much she stays longer. So if you can help make that a positive experience for her in the schools, that would be great. And then we also have Jessica Davis. We actually hired her mid-year last year. She's a school psychologist for us. We were really fortunate. It's unusual to find someone like that in the middle of the year. She's home with a sick baby today, but I'm really excited to have her on board as well. And she started with us in January. So really excited to have high caliber staff to serve our students.
Want me to do or you?
I can do it.
Yeah.
All right, Lincoln Elementary.
Good evening. I'm very excited to introduce Mrs. Michelle Merlino. She is returning to us. She did our student teaching with Josh Pilkington last year in kindergarten, and came back and impressed us with her interviews. And so we hired her for first grade this year. So we're very excited to have her. Just have to give you an alliteration because kindergarten is teaching M this year. So this is Michelle. She's married to Mark, and their last name is Merlino.
Fantastic. All right, Trail Elementary.
Good evening. I have two staff members to introduce tonight. Mandy Blumker wasn't able to make it. She was a teacher at Trail for quite a few years and took a 7 or 8 year stint to raise a wonderful family. And now she's back, so she'll be teaching special ed. And then we have Megan Ellison Fulbright is with us. She is teaching 4th grade. We are super excited to have her. She's done a tremendous job this year with our 4th grade so far, so we're super excited. And I do have 4 or 5 classified staff that we just got on board. I don't know all of their names accurately yet because they just started, but we do have several of those. So thank you.
Great. Mr. Van Tilburg? I'm assuming he's doing both. No? Is Mr. Barker here?
Could actually. I probably could. Which one? You want to do it jointly, like in chorus? Or how
You're on the same line. That's why I thought maybe it was him doing both. So Torrington Middle School and Torrington High School.
I gave
You guys figure it out how you want to do it.
I did. So Logan Barker, Torrington Middle School. We have 2 new staff members at our school. We have a new school nurse. Her name is Amber Folk. She's been awesome to work with so far. Super organized and relates really well to our kiddos. And the joint one, which is why we're up here, is Mr. Corbin Harris. He's joining us today. I'll speak on the middle school behalf. He connects extremely well with that group of kids. He hasn't had any behaviors in class so far. He's engaging. He looks and dresses professionally. He shows up ready to rock and roll. So we're very, very lucky to have him.
Good evening. Yeah, we're very happy to have Corbin here. Of course, he's a homegrown kid and glad to have him back at Torrington High. He's done a great job for us. I've been in his classroom several times. Matter of fact, Mr. Williams went with me one day and watched him teach. And we got to work on his Spanish pronunciation a little bit. He's got a little gringo in him, but he's coming around. I'm just kidding, but we're really happy to have him. He's been super receptive to constructive stuff from me. So glad to have you, Corbin. Also, Denise Grant. Denise, stand up, please. She did her student teaching this last year in special education out at Southeast, and they had actually hired her out there. And Tim Williams will tell you that we stole her from them, but we did not. I called him and asked questions and gave him a heads up, so we didn't technically steal her. But we're happy to have her with us. So thank you.
Great. All right, LFL.
Well, at LFL, we have a couple new new teachers, not students. But one of them was a student for us. So they're new, but not quite new. Cody Peachy, who may be stepping in here late coming from football practice, but he is not here now, is teaching K-12, or teaching K-12 PE for us. And he's student taught for us, and he was 3 years as a para in our building. So new, but not new. Olivia Saunders, who's here with us now, again, new and not new. She actually taught at TMS in ELA last year, and then we hired her here. We stole her. Gonna be honest. So Olivia Saunders, we're happy to have them. They're doing an excellent job. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Williams, Southeast.
If I ever thought I'd say, take a lesson from Gilchrist and honesty, VT, I'd say it, but never thought I would say that. So we have a couple of new staff members. Alan Bruce came to us this year. He is our new special education teacher. He is serving a very diverse population of students throughout the elementary and up into the junior high. He has a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's in special education, is a Wyoming native, which we like, and has come to us from Cheyenne and Laramie. So Mr. Alan Bruce, and then Andrew Holquist, there he is. Okay, very tall, very cool. Okay, Andrew, I like him because he's a Huskers fan. Kramer,
Oh my gosh.
Kramer, you just be quiet. Okay, comes to us from Minden, Nebraska. Okay, this is his 4th year of teaching, correct? In math, taught in Morrill, and then came to us. We stole him. That's how you do that, VT. We stole him. Okay, and we are very glad to have him teaching 712 math. So thank you.
Mr. Holquist, I've heard really great things about you so far. Mr. Daly, no new certified staff for you this year? All right, good deal. All right, we'll move on to reports from student reps. Ms. Shulriff is here as well, so. You guys want to start off with the topic that you were assigned?
Do you want me to say it or you go ahead?
Hopefully they
Go
know
for
what
it.
the
Well, they-
topic was.
Give the introduction. Got this.
So Kramer emailed us. He asked us to ask around our classmates kind of how they thought the school year started and what we're excited for. So good evening, everyone. I'm Kate Shulriff, and I'm your Lingle Fort Laramie student representative. And I'm excited for us to start off another great school year. So far, it has been pretty great. There's a lot of positive energy in all of our hallways. Students are already staying on top of their work, and after school activities have had a great start as well. This year, we have had new additions to the school, such as new students and teachers, and so far, everyone is pleasantly happy about all these new additions that we have had. Well, when I asked my classmates about what we're excited for, many of us, as the seniors, agree that this year comes with many milestones and big events for all of us that we've been looking forward to, such as our homecoming, our prom, and our graduation, but lastly, just making unforgettable memories as the class of 2026. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dykes? Welcome, Mr. Velasquez.
Hi, I'm Aaron Dykes. I was asked by the board how the students how the beginning of the school year has been for the students, and also what they're excited for in the years to come. Majority of the students said that they're pretty excited about graduating high school, especially the seniors. And many of the younger students said that they're really excited to meet new people. The school year so far, the majority of students said that it was pretty rough at the start, but because of course PRS is an alternative school, it's a bit different than usual what they were used to. But after they got comfortable and understood it a bit better, it's been going really well. And they said they made lots of new friends and really like the staff, and it's just been going really well overall. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Mr. Velasquez?
Hi, my name's King Velasquez. Thank you guys for having me. Uh, I was asked, what have I seen at the start of the school year at THS, and I've seen a really great impact with collecting student cell phones. Um, I've seen more students have been in class. More people and students are engaged in what they're learning. Uh, I feel like this compared to last year, THS has been ran a lot calmer, more orderly. Uh, and I saw a greater change starting second semester last year. Um, to me, I think community roosters training has been going really well, and I enjoy that class. It has to do with job shadowing, to see where our career is going to take us, and I have chose to do real estate with Irene Reese, and I'm just super excited to do that. Uh, I see a lot of students going to class more. I don't see as much kids in the bathroom or wandering the halls and stuff like that. I see a lot more kids in class and engaged in learning and want to learn. So that's my presentation for THS. Thank you guys for listening.
Great feedback. Just as a reminder to the student reps, if you guys have topics you think the board would like to hear about, please feel free to email Mr. Kramer. Like if you guys have ideas, talk amongst yourselves or what have you. If not, we'll come up with some topics for you to discuss. But I appreciate the feedback tonight. Thanks, guys. Good job. All right, next is the presentation by the district early literacy teachers. I'm excited to hear from you guys. We haven't heard from you for a while. I hear you're doing fantastic things out in the community, so we're kind of excited to hear about it as a board. So please brag on yourselves. Tell us what you've been up to.
Well, my heart rate is a little high, Helena.
Ash, come on, you're good at this. You handle much more stress than this.
84 right
This coming from a woman who runs marathons as like a hobby, so you'll be fine.
This is Nikki Craig and this is Jennifer Garcia, and we are the early literacy preschool program here in Goshen County. Tonight we have the opportunity to showcase our program, and we just hope to kind of give you a brief overview. Nikki is going to discuss the impacts that we're having in the district that she gathered from the kindergarten teachers, and then Jen will go over some data that really shows that our program is very successful. First of all, we have two goals that we went into this program with. Our first goal is to build phonological awareness, or PA. That's what we'll call it here in this presentation. It's a mouthful. So phonological awareness is the awareness of sound in our spoken language. And so what that just means is we're really teaching early literacy students to listen for the sounds in our language, for like initial sounds, the syllables that make words, and also rhyming patterns in our language. This helps relate hearing and manipulating these sounds helps relate them to print. And so we're providing a baseline and a foundation for them before they get to be readers and writers. Our second goal is to develop oral language. In our program, we do a lot of read alouds, and this helps introduce new vocabulary to students, which also helps them expose their exposure to new words, new people, new places. And so in turn, that just beefs up their vocabulary and their background knowledge. So when they go to be readers, they'll know more words. And when they come across an unknown word, it might be a word in their vocabulary already, and this will boost their comprehension. Okay. And so I'm just going to go with a program overview. I'm just going to tell you kind of what our day-to-day looks like. So we visit each site 3 times a week for 30 minutes every time. And we have a consistent time slot for each site. So if they meet 9 o'clock Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or not Friday, but Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's always 9 o'clock is when we're visiting them. Each week we plan a phonological awareness lesson plan. It hits syllables or rhyming patterns or initial sounds, and we incorporate activities and games with those sounds and in our phonological awareness in our activities every lesson. And like I was saying, in every lesson, we do a read aloud to expose them to new words and new vocabulary so that we can help build their comprehension for when they become readers. This opportunity has given us kind of a cool, unique thing. So we get to go into daycares and preschools and kind of show them and teach them classroom norms. And so when they go to kindergarten, they're already raising their hands to speak, taking turns, learning and practicing patience. We also teach them sportsmanship. So sometimes when we're playing games, we have to remind them to be good sportsmen. So this helps the kindergarten teachers when the students enter kindergarten. In our lessons, we also use a variety of things to develop fine motor skills and like gross motor skills. So we're introducing them to Play-Doh. Maybe we're playing with Play-Doh to build those fine motor skills, because when they get to writing, they're going to need those muscles. We also do a lot of gross motor skills, skywriting, movement, dancing, just kinds of things to keep that age group engaged and active, because we all know they can't sit for very long. So the more movement, the better. Currently, we're seeing every preschool in Goshen County. So we go into many of the daycares right now. And then on Green Fridays, for the last 3 years, we've been visiting I'm sorry, my voice is so shaky. We've been visiting the Goshen County Library. And we have implemented a program called Early Explorers. And so it's a really cool program that gets students that we might see in daycares, we might not see in formal settings like daycares and preschools. It gives them the opportunity to come in. And so we can teach them a phonological awareness skill and build their vocabulary by reading a book and then having a lesson. So next, Nikki is going to talk to us about the impacts that our program is having on future kindergartners.
All right. Side note about the Early Explorers, next Friday is our first one. Very cool thing. We have Miss Terry Walford bringing her tortoise, because it's tea week for
Nice.
pre-K, and so she's gonna bring the tortoise to the library, and that's pretty exciting. So
You have everybody signing a waiver
excited.
in case they get bit. No, I'm kidding.
We might have to sign something. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, right?
So when it comes to knowing how helpful our program has been, the first place we, of course, go is our K team. So we go to the kindergarten teachers. You can kind of see up here some past responses. We've done surveys and asked for their feedback, and we asked very directed questions about each different topic. But here's some of the things they said. They talked about how they noticed that Haggerty data had drastically gone up. They noticed that concepts were being grasped easier because they already had a foundation. So they take that concept in, they've figured it out, they can move on faster to new topics. They also are able to hear more sounds within the word, because that's what we do, right? We listen for different sounds, which is helping them become writers sooner. Also, they talked about having greater confidence and being more willing to join into language activities, because they've already been doing language activities. Next, Mike, please. And then we decided, you know what? Let's get some fresh information. So we reached out to kindergarten this fall and kind of said, hey, how's it going now? And so you can kind of see, if you take the time to read over each comment, we had 3 different responses. One's a group comment, and then 2 others were individual teachers. And if you take time to read them, they're great, but I also highlighted key pieces to maybe pop those important pieces. As you notice, each teacher mentioned how the phonological awareness is going well, right? You got your rhyming, you got your syllables, we got all that going for us. So the things that we kind of took from it that we were excited about was the enhanced listening skills, the better focus, and even the ability to sit and listen. Like Ashley talked about, those are some of the skills we work on, you know, especially these last few weeks. We're talking about, oh, when we want to answer, but you know, and they work on it, and some have to learn some self-control, and those are skills that we work on with them. And then the other things we noticed was, in teacher number 2, mentioning the familiarity with print concepts. So a couple of years ago, you know, as teachers, we always are working on becoming better teachers. We look at data, we do professional development, we look at feedback. Well, we noticed in Ames Web, some different skills that were like, what could we do to help amp up the kids? And we noticed concepts of print. We read books every day to kids. So we were trying to work on those skills more, pointing out cover, the back, where's the title? Ooh, how do I turn the page? Do I go this way, that way, right? Where's the page number? We do those things. And here the teacher clearly is noticing that we are working on those skills and trying to fit that in there in our 30 minutes. And then the last one, the thing that we noticed that we were pretty excited about, initial sounds. We noticed our first year of teaching this, that's the hardest skill for them to pick up, trying to hear just that first sound and understanding what you want them to hear. And so we work really hard to get more practice in, more games in. And so to see that it's being done and they can see it, as well as also knowing their letters. We did letters training our first year in this position. And we really noticed the importance of that letter, the sound. And so we're really trying to get those in there as well and showing them the letters. And we were excited to see that teacher number 3 was noticing that we are getting that done. Okay, Mike? And of course, for impact, we care about data, right? So we reached out this year just to see what are we seeing over at Lincoln Elementary. And here in the blue, you notice that this was before our program. So it starts with 19 here, 20, 20, 21, 22. So 2022 was prior to us, the last year that we didn't have any influence, okay? And so overall on the Ames Web, 29 out of 29 were above the 40th percentile, so that was a 27.10%. And then since we've been involved, it's increased. So it went to 33%, 37%, and then 48% this fall. And so that's wonderful news for us. We know that before our program, Goshen County School District didn't have much influence on how the kids came to us from the community. But with us being out there, now we have some influence. And so we're seeing some good things with that, and we're pretty excited about it. I'm gonna hand it over to Jen, who has more data for you.
Hi there, I'm Jen Garcia, and I am going to share a little bit more data with you that we've collected. So in the past 3 years that we've been doing this program, we have provided lessons to 334 children in our community. Of those 334, 245 of those children went into kindergarten that fall. So those 89 children that didn't go into kindergarten that fall actually received a second lesson with us for one more year. And there was actually five or six that actually have been with us for all 3 years. In the gray box up there for the upcoming kindergartners serviced in 23-24 school year of our program, we sent in 59 students that were in our program. Those children or those students are now second graders. In 24-25, we sent 94 students into kindergarten, and those kids are now in first grade. And this year, the kindergartners this year, we sent 92 students in from our program. We're projecting 90 students that we have that we just got done testing will be in kindergarten next year, if that makes sense. Down below, our program has been growing. When we first started this in year 1, we had 9 sites. And currently this year we have 12 sites. As Ashley said, we're in all the preschools in Goshen County and all the daycares that have a 4 or 5-year-old. Next slide, please. Thank you. On this one, this is our data from this past year. So all of those 92 students, this is their data that we collected. In these students were assessed 3 times a year. So in the fall, in the winter, and in the spring. In the fall, we assess 5 skills, and they're the first 5, the picture naming, the initial sounds, concept of spoken word, rhyme recognition, and rhyme completion. And then in the spring, or the winter and the spring, we assess all 8 of those skills. All 8 of these skills are kindergarten skills that are typically mastered by the end of kindergarten. So something that's really exciting for us, as Nikki said, is initial sounds is a heavy hitter. We've learned that from kindergarten Ames Web. So we've really tried to beef that up in our program. And looking at this data, of those 92 kids that we just sent to kindergarten a couple weeks ago, 80% of them were proficient on initial sounds for us. That means that when we ask them what's the first sound in baby, they say B. What's the first sound in apple? Ah. They're able to hear that first sound. All of this data is actually really exciting, but if you look at syllable segmentation, 96% of our kids, those 92 students, were proficient, being able to take a word such as helicopter and tell us it's made up of 4 syllables. And then our last slide is actually year-end data from all 3 years. So we took all of our spring data from year 1, which you'll see in the bars that are green. Year 2 is in purple. And then last year that we just saw on the previous slide, it is the blue. And so I think it's kind of important to look at that this data here shows that all 3 years kids entered kindergarten with pre-teaching of 8 kindergarten skills. And many of those students had those skills mastered before they even walked through those doors. I think it also shows that the 3 of us are getting better at teaching these skills. Like Nikki said, we've taken the letters training. We're looking at the data. We're trying to continue to make this program the best that it can be. Again, thank you for having us tonight and your continued support of our early literacy program. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us.
Does the board have any questions before they run off? Do any of you mind? I'm quick. I can see where you're going at this. Do any of you can answer it, but how are you funded?
Currently, I believe we're funded under Title I.
Mr. Kramer wants to add something.
Can I expand? So previously, you'll maybe recall that the district funded this program under the LIT grant. The state of Wyoming was not awarded this literacy grant on the renewal. And so the board, and much appreciated, decided that we still wanted to maintain this program because obviously the data is definitely showing some very promising information for our students. And so what we did then, with the help of Marcy, was we took our Title I funding, which is a fund that continually is pretty stable. There were some questions as to whether that would be maintained this summer. And so there was some concerns in our ability to do that, but that as soon as that was approved, we were able to maintain that funding through Title I. Now you'll ask, what were we funding Title I positions before? And why are we moving into Title I? The state of Wyoming, through the categorical grant process, and if I mess up on any of the language here, Marcy, correct me, does not explicitly allow us to use those funds for students before kindergarten. So instead of using general fund dollars specifically, we had to utilize Title I funds because Title I funds do allow for us to make expenditures for preschool education. And so then we took the dollars that we were spending for Title I, and then those that were in that program that we could spend general fund dollars on, we were then funding those through general fund. So really, in essence, we've maintained general fund support of positions to also maintain this program within the district and be able to provide some great services to our preschools and our students coming in to the district. So these ladies do a wonderful job and greatly appreciate. This is the only program like this in the state. They built this from the ground up. There was no one had done this. There wasn't a curriculum we could go purchase. They created all of this and all the materials and everything that they are instructing on. And it's pretty phenomenal what they've done. So thank you.
I do have one quick question. And I'm making an assumption here, but when you go in for those 30 minutes, do you meet one-on-one or do you meet with them as a group? As a group. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Kramer's elaboration was spot on with one exception, and that being Title I doesn't allow us to actually facilitate and operate a preschool. It allows us to provide the intervention services for what the feeder schools, so those early literacy schools going into kindergarten, and that's what we're providing.
Thank you, ladies. We appreciate what you're doing. All right, next is the 2025 Eastern Wyoming Sportsmanship Summit report.
Thank you. T-shirt.
Okay. Is he handed off to you, Mr. Bartlett?
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jake.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we had our first annual Eastern Wyoming Sportsmanship Summit.
Thank you so much.
Some of you asking why we did this. This kind of started with the infamous night we all want to forget about in volleyball in the summer. So I think Elena spearheaded a group we got together with the ADs, Mr. Kramer, some school board members, and talked about what we could do better as a district to improve our sportsmanship. So me and Mr. Van Tilburg from that point on kind of started brainstorming, and he mentioned something them doing in Nebraska where they have these sportsmanship summits, but we wanted to expand on that. In Nebraska, they take like their top kids and send them to a summit. We wanted to involve all our kids. We'd like to have the whole student body, but we thought to start out with, to get this off the ground and running, that we were just going to have all our athletes in every sport come to the sportsmanship summit and learn about sportsmanship. And he'll hand out, I think he's handing out the sheet. This is our flyer. We developed a flyer for it. So we tried to get speakers from all walks, from refs to administrators, ADs, old coaches. We even brought in Sydney Thorvaldson, and if you don't know her, she's pretty much a world-class cross-country runner, and she is originally from Rawlins. Clayton McSpadden did a great job when he taught in Rawlins, knew her and called her up, and she agreed to come. So on a side note of that, she's going to come back next year and speak again. So that was kind of cool. We got Don Julian, who coached in Wyoming, state championship football coach. He coached at the University of Wyoming. I mean, he's kind of done it all. He came in and spoke. So we had a wide range of speakers. I will admit, one of our speakers kind of bailed on us the day of.
I know, you guys. I am so sorry. I know.
That's okay. I about had a meltdown, but that's neither here nor there.
It's not like I was a key speaker.
No.
I know, he did.
Tim Williams was gracious enough to step in. So
Oh, you made Mr. Williams take my spot?
I did.
Nice. So I owe him now.
Sorry. But it was great. So how we went about doing this, we asked all the ADs and principals. Basically, we couldn't make all the student athletes come, but we strongly recommended it. And the turnout was phenomenal. I don't know, I would say 225, we probably have roughly 280 of our student athletes in the district participate in sports. And we probably had, I would say 225 show up, and it was a packed house. And it was a collaborative effort. We had, Mr. Gilchrist was running the halls, getting kids into sessions. We made it so we would fill up a session, you had to go a session. So it wasn't just kids hanging out watching or sitting out in the hallway talking with their friends. We actually physically said, no, you're going in here, you're going in here, you're going in here. And it was well, I mean, they attended and they loved it. I think the big ones were Sydney. She said she was full every time. Of course, you want to go hear her speak. So, but even Trevor Wilson, the head of WHSA, came down and did a presentation, and his sessions were full. So the turnout was great. So afterwards, a little bit of thought in it is, how do we get our students? Now, most of our students that come to games, and that, for lack of a better word, maybe a problem, are usually our athletes. So it was good that they were there. But there is some that still come that don't play sports that this would be very beneficial for. And so I think we're kind of trying to brainstorm on how to get more of our student body there, make it more of the whole school thing than just student athletes. But it was great. Oh, and we even had, I forgot to mention this, 2 of our student athletes presented for us. So Brooklyn Osmus, Trishelle Pontarolo, and they had a ball doing it. So yeah, it was outstanding. We're going to do it again. We're going to try to open it up. We did open it up to Wheatland, Lusk, and Guernsey. Guernsey didn't come. Wheatland, they were having practices and stuff and just didn't think could make it work. Lusk never did respond to us. So, but I think Guernsey's going to come next year. We're thinking about opening it up into like Morrill, Mitchell, probably about that far, and Wheatland again, if we can time it better. But for our first time out, it couldn't have went any better. I mean, it was smooth sailing. Didn't have any issues. Kids were receptive. The breakouts that I was in, as the ADs, me, Mike, and Tim, or not Tim, Clayton, had questions. We never did finish all our slides because kids were talking, kids were communicating, kids were bringing up issues and what they see and stuff like that. So it was very beneficial, I think, and I think it's something that we'll continue to do. Svantover.
Just want to give a couple of acknowledgements of those that sponsored this, because it was a huge part of our event. Gabe and I talked early about, could we give away t-shirts? You know, everybody likes a free t-shirt. I saw your faces. You guys were all smiling. Anyhow, the Eastern Wyoming College Foundation, as well as the Rotary Club here in Goshen County, made these possible. Not one dime was spent out of resources from Goshen County School District Number 1. Eastern Wyoming College rolled out the red carpet. Dr. Hawes made sure that our kids, I mean, we had spare ribs, we had pizza, we had salad, we had watermelon, hamburgers, hot dogs. I mean, he absolutely was a joy to work with. Gave us carte blanche to the facilities, to the auditorium, to the classrooms, made sure that we had everybody connected. So when you see Dr. Hawes, give him a huge attaboy, because Gabe and I are going to take him out for lunch. Out of Gabe's budget, not mine. But anyhow, he was awesome to work with. And then the district ADs did a great job of helping us, giving us some direction. Like Gabe said, getting Sydney Thorvaldson here was, she's a pretty impressive young lady from Wyoming. So that was pretty cool to see. And then to have Don Julian, who was recently inducted into the Wyoming Coaches Association. I mean, we didn't have, just so people coming to speak to our kids. For the first time around, it'll be pretty hard to top next year to get this quality of speakers. So super excited for how it turned out. When you see these sponsors that we had, I forgot one more, that the t-shirt company, Platte Valley Printwear, also contributed to this. So that was really nice to be able to give our kids these shirts and this event. And it, like Gabe said, it turned out really well, and we're super happy with it. And any feedback you can give us or things that you've heard, we'd be happy to take for the future. So
Yeah, I think the state people, Trevor and Chad, that came down, Chad's the vice president, Chad Whitworth, I think they were pretty happy with it. I've been, they've reached out to me, the student advisory council that they put on through the WHSA that has the students come in. They're gonna contact me, I don't know when, to start setting up something along these lines in schools across the state. So I think we may have started something. Hopefully our kids take heed to it and learn some things, because I mean, They appeared to be engaged and stuff like that. It wasn't like Mr. Van Tilden, he's not me out there talking to them. This is so anyway, yeah.
Well, guys, I made a plea to you because I felt like the district had a problem and you blew it out of the water. You set the bar very, very high, and I am very, very appreciative of all the work that all of you put into this. I think it's a great start for our district. So thank you very much.
Just remember, it was really all the schools. I mean, it really was. They all
It's
had a
awesome.
part to play, and the support was there from Mr. Kramer as well as others that just really gave us some guidance and just helped put it together.
It's amazing. Any questions from the board? Thank you.
So if anybody next year wants to speak, taking volunteers.
Good plug.
Thank you.
All right, next we've got committee reports. First, we'll start with the policy committee. Does anyone from the policy committee have a report? Not everyone all at once.
Madam Chair?
Yes, trustee Sharp.
I guess I will do this. We went over 3 policies. I believe they were, if I am mistaken, I believe they were all new. I'm not sure about that. They're all 3 in the packet. They were all 3 approved. One of them is replacing 2 other policies or combining them sort of. And that's clearly noted in the packet. They were in regards to visitors to school, retirement and resignation of classified staff, and employment and service outside of the school district.
Great.
Those are basics.
Thank you. All right, DAC. Anyone from DAC want to give a brief report? Trustee Alexander, trustee Hager?
I can jump in, guys. if you'd
I'll
like.
save you.
I missed Dak last time, so, but I'll be there tomorrow.
Get a pass.
We had a quick meeting before school started just to kind of close some things up and get ready actually before the sportsmanship summit and those type of things. So it was a very short meeting. Tomorrow morning, we'll talk a little bit more in depth about a couple of things on the horizon with travel for our officials and also the what would be the realignment of 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A as every 2 years that takes place. And there's some significant movement that's occurring around the state in relation to that. So we'll have a conversation about that and how that potentially could affect some of our schools and which classification they're playing for the next 2 years.
Great, thank you. Next on our agenda is public comment. The first form I have is for Heather Rutz. Ms. Rutz, do you need me to repeat all of the rules for public comment, or are you familiar?
I think I'm okay.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right, board, thank you guys. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Heather and I'm an elementary teacher in the district. I want to begin by thanking all of you for all your hard work, for the important work that you do, not only for the teachers, but the staff, and most importantly, our students. I also want to apologize for my attire. I just got done coaching and came straight here. So you may have noticed that not many teachers speak during public comment for a few reasons. Of course, we're busy teaching, coaching, managing our own families. But another reason is that many of us are concerned about potential repercussions after speaking up. I'm here today to represent the voices of many teachers who feel the same way I do. We are all ultimately here for the students, right? Without them, none of us would be here. So the issue that I would like to address is, in my professional opinion, what is best for students, particularly at the elementary level. So some of you may not be fully aware of all the programs we currently use, but one of the programs that has been extremely beneficial to both students and teachers has recently been removed. So this program is Renaissance Place, and I do have information for all of you if you would like that. So it allows students to take AR tests, it's called Accelerated Reader. So it provides critical insights into students' reading comprehension, and it also helps guide instruction. I understand that there may have been concerns about how some teachers use the program. However, it would not be appropriate for me to penalize all my students if a if there were a few isolated instances. So I feel like decisions about the program usage should involve input from all of those who use it daily. It is also my understanding that maybe funding concerns may have influenced this decision, but I would also encourage us to consider whether our spending truly reflects what is best for students. For example, we have allocated resources to provide Wi-Fi on buses, the Ninja cyber trainings that not all staff access, external consultants on communication strategies, and AI-focused trainings. While these are valuable, they do not directly replace the core instructional program or programs like Accelerated Reader or Renaissance. As an example of the impact, I recently used ChatGPT to create 7 book quizzes in the past 2 days. While that's a helpful tool, again, you only get 3 times to do a PDF in 1 day of the free version. It takes time away from me planning effective instruction, okay, time that was previously supported by AR. I've also heard from multiple students actually just this week that really miss it. They're like, man, I just wish I had this program. So if we want to truly support students, it's crucial that we listen to teachers, those who interact with students daily. We want to provide the best education possible, but our workload has increased significantly without additional compensation or support. These challenges can contribute to stress and burnout among teachers. So we ask only that our perspectives and expertise be considered in decisions that directly impact students' learning experiences. Thank you for your time and listening.
Thank you.
And I have these if you guys want them.
Sure, if you'd like to distribute them, you're welcome to. You want to just hand me the whole thing? I can hand them down. That easier? Thank you. All right, next I've got Miss Cohorn.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Cohorn, and I would like to draw your attention to the proposed policy change under photography and reading on this very first page. I noticed that it says in the second line, audio recordings on school grounds during the school day unless authorized explicitly by the principal. Wyoming, in case you didn't know, audio recordings are permissible by law. It's a one-party consent state, which means only one person in a conversation needs to consent to be audio recorded. But in my opinion, there are multiple reasons why a person, a parent may wish to audio, and I'm being very specific here, only audio record an adult conversation between adults when no children are present. For instance, if you were in some kind of an IEP meeting, or you were having a conversation with a superintendent or other people in administration, an individual may choose to audio record that conversation in order to reference it later, to play it for their spouse. There's a variety of reasons why a person may choose to audio only record a conversation between adults with no children present. And I would request that the board revisit that and perhaps make that exception or make that more explicit. That's my only comment tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing any other yellow cards. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
So a number of things that I was going to convey. I did attend the Wyoming School Board Association's regional fall meeting that took place in Douglas last Wednesday. They shared a lot of information related to the recalibration that's going to be ongoing, and it was a informative piece too, where each year they actually go through the state budget to look at the projections and how it might affect the next legislative session. They also talk about upcoming upcoming trainings and other things that would be beneficial for board members to kind of have knowledge of. I do have a copy of the packet that I will send to the board members via email. That way you can kind of peruse some of the information and grab anything that might be pertinent to you. That also goes along with the Wyoming School Board Association's fall workshop series, engaging in school finance recalibration through advocacy. You may be aware that this is a process that some of you are either already participated in some of the listening sessions, but it is something that will have a dramatic effect on school funding in the near future in Wyoming, and something to definitely keep up to date with. District staff updates. We have most of our positions filled. We are still looking for a district-wide social worker and a couple of other positions. We are, I appreciated Mr. Van Tilburg this weekend. He worked on an advertisement for student teachers for some of our hard to fill areas. And so he actually then placed a list of all the colleges and university he has sent that information to. So we would love to get a student teacher here this spring, because we're also advertising in the idea that this will be an opening that student teacher potentially could go into the fall. And so that's kind of one of those strategies that we're utilizing for district staffing. Now, I also want to have the principals come up. I have two more things, but I'm going to have the principals come up and present their Wyoming Department of Education accountability measures results. And we'll start off with Platte River School. And if you just take one.
Okay.
There.
Good evening.
Should be alternated.
Board of Trustees. My name is Lindsay Maxey. I am the principal at Platte River. I want to just kind of discuss some of the data. I requested to go first because my data is a little bit different than the other secondary teacher or secondary principals, excuse me, because we go based off of the Wyoming Accountability and Education for Alternative Schools. So we do have different performance measures that we have to do. First and foremost, when you're looking at it, with alternative schools in Wyoming, we fall into one of four performance levels for overall school performance based on the pattern of performance in the following indicators: achievement, growth, high school credential, grade 9, 10, 11 credit earning, college and career readiness, school climate, and engagement. With that, we have four performance levels of exceeding alt schools expectations, meeting alt school expectations, partially meeting alt school expectations, or not meeting alt school. Overall, if you look at the data that I provided to you, you will see that PRS met all school expectations. It is my goal that we exceed that, because if you look at each indicator, you'll see that on the cut score, there's a lot of them that are really, really, really close, and our kids are awesome, and I know that they're going to exceed. So if you're looking at that, you'll see in terms of achievement, the cut score, or our score as PRS, was a 42. The low cut was at 30. High cut was a 50. So we met expectations at that point. In terms of growth, the growth is dealing with reading and math combined for students with 4 through 11. So we focus on ACT and YTOP. The school score was a 48. The low cut score was a 40. High cut was 50. We met school expectations on that. In terms of graduation, this is a lag indicator, so it is one that follows. So for example, the students that graduated last year, they won't be reported until this year. So last year, the score was a 65. The low cut was a 67. The high cut was an 83. So we just barely missed it. That's probably by one student. In terms of post-secondary readiness, that's dealing with when they're dealing with either college, career, or military ready based on their ASVAB scores, based on their career readiness with CTE. We partner with Mr. VT at THS for our students to be able to take CTE courses in comp sci, woods, foods, business. Help me out here, VT. Sorry, Jason Groening. And then also we offer health sciences at PRS. With that, we exceeded alt school expectations with more than double of the low cut score. With credits earned, that focuses on 9th, 10th, and 11th. And again, that is a lag indicator. With that, that is also below alt school expectations, probably by 1 or 2 students, with our students having to have 4.5 credits per year towards the 17 of graduating with our high school diploma. The next one with school climate, this is one that is specifically to alt school. We have to assess students, or we ask students a survey, and I'll get further into that on 3 credentials, excuse me, in terms of high expectations, staff respect, and student respect. We assess that in the fall and in the spring. And as you notice, we met alt school expectations on that. Also trying to score with 85% of participation. Engagement, that is not applicable because of the small stature of our school, like small numbers. So overall, I'm proud of our kids. Obviously, I'm very proud of Mr. Dykes because he represents us well and he does a fabulous job of engaging with our students. And I'm super excited about this year because even though they bully me sometimes, that's cool, bunch of bullies, but they do a fabulous job. And I love the energy that we have. I see the climate that's changing with PRS, and you know, it makes me proud when they sit there and say, we are rattlers. Even though one of my teachers really hates snakes. So don't blame Miss Kramer and don't tell her I said that. So anyway, I thought this was amazing. I thought our kids did an amazing job, and they're going to continue to do amazing work. Because why? We have the best of the best. And when I say we, every last one of these principals, we have the best of the best in this state. So thank you. I appreciate it. Do you have any questions besides the fact that I can't see you very well?
I have a quick question, and I'm not going to expect you to explain to me the numbers because I probably wouldn't understand them anyway. But when we're talking about graduation, what does 65 mean in terms of how many students graduate, or do you see what I'm trying to say? Like, how do we tell what 65 means?
So you have a 4-year, 5-year, Mr. Kramer, you can correct me if I'm wrong, 4-year, 5-year, 6-year, and 7-year cohort. So students that graduate in a 4-year time frame, we get a certain percentage of the students that finish within that 4 years, certain percentage for a 5-year, 6-year, and 7-year. And so then it becomes an average. And if you ask me as the math teacher, I will lie straight to your face. Just telling you the truth. But that's how the cohorts, because it's based on a 4 to 7 year of when students finish. It's a really tricky, weird number of how they calculate it, and like I'm sorry. So
Are you wanting graduation numbers or something like that, Trustee Steinbach?
it ranges. So like the very first year I was a principal, we had 13 students graduate. Which we had a lot of students who came from being quote unquote dropouts, and they came back and got their high school diploma. We had my second year, I think there were 10 that graduated. Last year, I think there was 9 that graduated. So it just varies because every student is different. And a lot of times students come to us with they're behind in credits. So that's when you look at the credits earned, that's one of the reasons that is below, because when they come to us, they're already behind in credits. And so we're trying to help students. But we also have on the different end of the spectrum, can I pick on you, Mr. Dykes? I'm not going to ask him, I'm going to do it anyway. Like Mr. Dykes. So Mr. Dykes is one that is going towards, where he has his CTE in comp sci. And he's going to far exceed the number he has in terms of credits. With that, I have never in my career of PRS as a teacher or as a principal had just the bare minimum of students with credits. So. My pleasure.
I guess that spurred another question in my mind, in the sense so say Mr. Dyke started 9th grade, or any of your students started at THS, graduated on a normal time frame from Platte River. So are we just, if the data really doesn't mean anything, but are you taking away from one, adding to the other?
So Anytime a student goes to another school and they enroll in that school, they are not then deducted from the previous school as a dropout. They're continuing with the program somewhere else. So they necessarily don't determine a lower score from the school they came from. And then now the challenge with Wyoming is they really don't give you credit for if you don't, your clock starts as a freshman. They don't give us credit for a senior plus, which actually to me, a senior plus is just as important as a senior. A senior plus plus is just as important. They are working on that. They acknowledge that that probably isn't the best system to grade, especially using this. We're going to see, this will be, I would almost guarantee, the last time we will see this type of school ranking. It needs a lot of work. There was some desire to make an abrupt change in the last week before it was released. Very glad that that didn't take place. But through that conversation, there were some really good conversations about what are some of the deficiencies with this current system along with graduation. And I'm hopeful that next year we'll see a rating system that gives a little bit more information and then maybe isn't quite as convoluted as the score, because that 64 or 65, you'd expect that'd be an average of your grad. That's a score, not necessarily based on the graduation percentage. And that's drastically different. Correct. Yep. And again, when I look at, like this last year, in 2023 for Platte River School, they had 80% of their 5-year graduates graduate within 5 years. And those are the type of numbers where really, yeah, absolutely. That's just the state average is 81% in a regular school building. And so as an alternative school, which sometimes have students that just need some different assistance and maybe have had some challenges in their first year. And so they might be more challenged to get to that credit level. It's a pretty phenomenal number that they're able to accomplish there.
May I say something, sir?
Of course.
So with Platte River, and if you guys were on the board, and I can't remember who was and who was not, when I did my school presentation a couple years ago, we talked about what was called an ILP. Every student in our building has an individualized learning plan. So every student has a path in which they are going towards and getting their high school diploma, whether it's like Mr. Dykes and doing a CTE pathway, whether they're going to EWC or UW and getting dual credits, or if they're doing co-op where they're working with Miss Russell. They have different pathways. So each student is very different and very individualized. And as I'm going to brag on Mr. Dykes, like, for example, he just finished a class because he got to work at it on his own pace and he wanted to bust it out and get it done. So students have that option to be able to bust classes out and get done. I don't know why, because I feel like they don't want to see me anymore, but it's okay. My heart's breaking just a little bit. But, I'm proud of them because they take their ownership of their education and move forward. And they say, I'm responsible for that. And like I said, I'm really excited about what we're seeing this year. And if you ask my English teacher, if you ask my science teacher, you'll see the excitement that they have and that I have, because they're doing amazing things. And like I said, I just feel like we have the best students, not only just in Goshen County, we have the best students in Wyoming. And I'm pretty sure my fellow admin will actually say that as well. We're a bunch of brats, I think, that we just get the best. Would you agree, Mr. Dykes? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Mr. Daly.
Hello, good evening. How are you guys tonight? So our data is pretty quick to introduce. So across the top, if we look at the Wyoming Accountability in Education Act, you can see that we are meeting expectations at our school. The cut score right underneath that, we are at a 2.5. It is a 2.6 to be exceeding expectations. And so we are very, very close. These students are just from grades 3 through 6 on the YTOP test because we don't test kindergarten first or second in that group. So if you look down at the next screen, you can see how it's split out. In achievement, we were meeting the target. In growth, we were exceeding the target. And under equity, we have such a small group. We were not able to have those scores. They're not applicable to us. So we're very excited this year. All of our teachers, the teachers and I, all three of us, have decided that we are going to be working very closely in our professional learning community groups to talk about how we can better support skills that students are going to need 3 through 6. To support them on the standards and skills that are more prevalent on the YTOP assessment. So we feel like that we have all of our foundational skills according to AIMSweb. We have a good handle on those, and we're very excited about our data in that area. And we'd just like to extend that into other areas and hopefully be meeting expectations next year. I mean, exceeding expectations next year. So do you guys have any questions? All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Lincoln Elementary.
Hey, thank you again for this opportunity. I'm going to make this really short and sweet because at the K2 level, we do not take the YTOP. So all of our data actually comes from Trail Elementary. But as the feeder school to Trail, this is just as much our data as it is their data. We're just as accountable for the data. So our cut score is at a 1.7. There's a positive and a negative to that. The negative is that we're at a 1.7, but the positive is that meeting expectations is a 1.8. So we are this close to making that score. When we go down further, you'll see that the below target is for, grades 3 through 8, but we are also a part of that accountability in English and math. And so that's our real focus all the time is English and math. For the rest of the targets, we have met the target or meeting average in those areas. And I know Mr. Flourishing will be able to give a little more data information, or at least I'm pointing him out to that.
And we'll go ahead and have Trail. Well, with that, it's Trail's turn.
We don't have the nice colors that Mr. Daly does for some reason. When I printed mine, I thought it was the printer, but apparently not. So again, like Ms. Swingholm said, our cut score is 1.7, 1.8 to be meeting expectations in the Wyoming Accountability Act. In the Every Student Succeeds Act, we were a 1.8. They don't have cut scores for that. A couple things that stood out to me, I think, is in our achievement, we were below target, but in our growth, we met that target. And one thing I was really, really excited about is in our English language learners, we were average there. If you look at that school score and the low cut score, I think that we did a really good job with our English learners' progress. At Trail, in the previous years, we've been around that 1.718. Last year, we were 2.3. So we've done a lot of reflecting on that to see what were the differences from the year before to last year and what do we need to shore up as far as our tier 1. We really just had some good conversations when we break down those growth equity and when we look at our subgroups. IEP, ELL, the different races. There's some definitely good growth in meeting a lot of those targets. I don't have that here because it's like this long. But we did look at some of our subgroups, especially to see where we need to either strengthen or areas that we need to continue with some of our subgroups on the things that we're doing. So not what we want to see. We're not satisfied. But the data that we have through AIMSweb and through things like that is really showing that we're on the right track. So any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
Southeast.
Question.
Oh, sorry. Did I have a question?
He raised his heart rate there for a
Yeah,
minute.
he was ready. He was ready.
Had to print bigger sheets. I have worse size, I guess. So Southeast Elementary, we're meeting expectations. As you can see there in the top 2 areas are percent proficient. We were pretty good there. Where we were not, we were below target and below average. And the reason that we were not exceeding expectations is because of the growth that students are expected to show throughout the year. We were just under the traditional grades 3 through 8. The bottom cut score was a 48. We had a 47. And on the ESSA, it was 47.1. We were 47. So just below those.
Mr. Williams, I'm sorry to interrupt. Will you kind of explain what the growth area means?
Corey, you want to explain what the growth area means? Corey's our resident expert because we ask him these questions all the time, right, VT?
So it's measured, but essentially you're combined with a cohort of students that score the same as you did within that group. So let's say you scored 596 in ELA, you group with roughly 20 students, and in order to be proficient, you must finish in the top half of growth in that cohort and determine proficiency.
I knew you'd do that better than I did, so thank you. So
How you guys keep any of this straight? Like, it's so complicated and convoluted.
this is just one report.
I know. I know.
And Kevin has to look at way more than we do, so I'm not him. So Southeast Junior High, again, meeting expectations. Lots of blue there, meeting and above average. And so our scores, we're really pretty happy with them. We were just above in some, but like in the achievement for the ESSA, I mean, we were blew that kind of out of the water. So doing great things there. Again, we were meeting expectations for the junior high, and then for the high school, exceeding expectations. If you had asked me at the beginning of last year which one of our 3 levels would have been exceeding, I would not have said that our high school kiddos were the ones, but they did great. They were meeting average, above average, or exceeding the target in every category there. So as you look down through there, great graduation rates, hitting our mark with the students that are demonstrating college career and military readiness. So doing a great job with things across the board there. So any questions on any of the 3? Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim. And I believe Lingle would be next.
Right. Lingle Elementary, when it comes up there, we were exceeding expectations. Just as you're looking at these reports, essentially for the Wyoming accountability portion that's determined the score that we're talking about now, you can ignore the ESSA. That did not contribute at all to how we were scored. It gives you some comparability to what federal government's looking at versus the state. And they're relatively close, but you get into the high school level, there's quite a bit of discrepancy. And so if you go down, we're exceeding, it's got cut scores 2.7, which put us above the 2.6 that got us the exceeding expectations at the elementary. If you go down, when you are looking at these in K through 8 or 3 through 8, when you're looking at achievement, growth, and equity, those are broken down and how they're figured is 35% is your achievement, 35% of your score is your growth, and 30% is equity. And up here, we were meeting target for achievement, and then we exceeded target in the next 2 areas for growth and equity. And equity is determined based on the growth of your bottom 20 performing students compared to the 80% above that. So are you doing what you need to grow your lowest performing students? And have done an excellent job, well above, some of the highest scores in the state right there in terms of growth and equity. So very proud of that. The next one, the middle school, we had a little slide backwards. We were very proud to be partially meeting. As you look at our data, we're 1.3, the cut score is 1.4, so we were right there. And how this works, if you go down to the scores, again, the 1.3 puts us in the not meeting category. Very similar scores to what we had last year, the difference being in growth. We were 47, the low cut was 8. we were just above that. So what that equated to is we essentially lost 2 students to proficiency and growth that put us into the lower category. Because as you produce the algorithm, when you look at this, the 35, 35, 30 score, it's scored, if you are below, you get a 1. If you're meeting, you get a 2. If you're exceeding, you get a 3. And that's multiplied by the 35% to get your 1.7 or your 2.4 to get that score. So the algorithm determines that. So if you plug in a 2 instead of a 1 there, we easily make the partially meeting and be very close to the meeting just by doing that one thing. So we've had the conversations. We're not happy with the achievement score by any means. Very proud of what we've done with our lower performing students. We're doing some very good things with our intervention stuff because we're growing those kids. But we've made a concerted effort with our interventionists that we hired at the secondary level to really focus on this. At the end of the year last year, you've seen the presentations where we've done the ACT prep. At the end, about 6 weeks prior to the YTOP last year, we switched the middle school to doing YTOP prep. And what the WEA has done is they have what's called an authoring tool where you can pull past questions and create a test using an authoring tool. So we've switched our middle school. We're doing that from the beginning. There's no ACT prep. It is all YTOP prep. One day a week, they are doing YTOP prep for this very reason, to get used to the test, seeing familiar questions. So moving on to the next one, the high school met expectations. As we evaluated this data, one of the things that wasn't concerning, we're glad we met, but our achievement score is right at the cut line for the low cut line. We're 2.3, 1.8 is the cut to go down, 2.6 goes up. If we drop below with our achievement score, we would still be meeting, but that's something we don't want to see fall. We want our achievement score to continue to go up. Now, achievement in the high school is based on 2 scores. That is your 9th and 10th grade YTOP scores. The 11th grade does not figure into your achievement. The ACT does not. However, the ACT does figure into your growth score. So it's not just your growth from 9th to 10th grade. They've figured out a corollary between the ACT and YTOP to allow growth to be considered with ACT. So if you go down, the algorithm is a little bit different, and I don't have this one exactly memorized. As you get down into the equity score, into the graduations and proficiency scores in terms of CTE, that gets a little convoluted in terms of the algorithm. But again, your main areas are achievement and growth. Those give you the biggest scores in the algorithm. And if you go through ours, you see some meeting targets. Here's another discrepancy. ESA says we're above average, but we're only meeting target for WAEA. As you scroll down, again, English language we don't have enough students to qualify for that. So our entire equity score is based on the bottom performing 20 students. Our ELL students don't figure into that for us. Graduation, again, that was explained, that rolling average with a score of 96, well above the top target line. And post-secondary readiness, primary indicators of that are your scores on the ACT and ASVAB and work keys and some of those things to show readiness for college, career, or military readiness. So again, doing some very good things at the high school. One of the primary things we're focused on is that achievement score. We want to get a little bit of cushion there. So again, we've got a wide range exceeding. One of the things that we're really looking at is we're seeing a big drop in our proficiency from students going from 5th grade to 6th grade. We're seeing proficiencies in the 60s and 70s in math and ELA, and at the 6th grade level, they're performing in the 40s. Why is that happening? And we're looking into that. We're doing some organizational things. Is it such a traumatic thing to walk across our bus loop and go through that door? What's going on? So that's one of the big things we've got to look at our middle school is our 6th grade's been historically performing low regardless of how they perform in 5th grade. So what's happening there? So that's one of the big things we're looking at. So any questions?
I have a couple of vague-ish questions that aren't directed specifically to you, but anyone that wants to answer So the school improvement plans, are those based solely on these accountability reports?
They are. If you are below meeting expectations, so if you're not meeting or partially meeting, you have to do
There are no other indicators, it's just this accountability
Correct.
report. And then when we talk about testing, is it only YTOP and ACT that plays in? Ames, Web, STAR, none of those play into this?
not
Those are
count
just
towards
used
this accountability. no.
internally? Okay. Thank you, that was all.
All right, thank you.
Torrington Middle School.
My pen went. I left it up here. I was wondering where that thing went. First off, I want to extend a thank you really quick before I get into this to Superintendent Kramer, Mr. Derby, and our admin team. Obviously, I'm the new kid on the block, kind of dealing with all of this as it comes. So I want to provide a thank you to them. Anytime I've ever picked up the phone and called any one of them, they always have an answer, or they try and give me the best answer. They're always there to support, and they've been nothing but helpful in this. I am currently still drinking through a fire hose, so we're gonna try and get through this. So currently with our data, we are meeting expectations, Torrington Middle School 6 through 8. This is looking through all this data was very brand new to me. Getting onto the website to this was very brand new to me. So in regard to our overall school performance on indicators, I don't have that attached on here, mainly because I was trying to toggle and figure out the website in general. So what I'll do is I'll get that report to Mr. Kramer, and then we can get that out to you guys as well. But we are meeting expectations with a cut score of 2.0. We're flirting with that line of partially meeting of 1.8. I'd rather not be. Our goal as a school is to exceed expectations. Plain and simple, that's where we're at. In regard to achievement, growth, and equity, if you look on the school performance report at the very bottom, it does have a quick target level there. Achievement, we're meeting target. Growth, we're meeting target. And equity, we're meeting target. So we are where we need to be, but we're not where we want to be. And so that's our goal moving forward. Do you guys have any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you.
And Torrington High School.
Well, I'm not going to wow you with numbers because I don't frankly understand all of it, but I am going to point to a few things. I always try to look at stuff from a good and a bad. So I want to start with the bad, so we're upfront about stuff. Torrington High is still a not meeting school in Wyoming. We knew this going into this year. It was a 2-year label. But I fully expect us to at least be partially meeting next year based on the data that we received this year. So the good news is this. Last year at this time, we were only meeting in the post-secondary readiness category. During the 24-25 school year, THS is now meeting in 3 categories: ESSA growth, credits earned, and post-secondary readiness. It's very highly likely that we would have met also for graduation, but as Lindsay said earlier, this is a year in the rears. So it's not based on the kids from last year, but the year before. Another point of interest that I think is really interesting is that the achievement score, we were 2 points below meeting. The previous year, we were 10 points below. So we almost met in that category, that being the YTOP scores. We were very close. The growth score was 1 point below meeting, and the equity score was also 1 point below meeting. So we saw a ton of growth. I wish all of it was blue. I wish all of it was saying we were meeting, but it's not. And that's the reality of it. So the other thing I want to share is the 23-24 WDE overall school performance on indicators. I don't know if that's up there or not, but when you look at the 23-24 report, we were only meeting in 1 category. Just to throw out a few numbers for you, at that time, achievement was 10 points below meeting, growth was 5 points below meeting, and credits earned was 6 below meeting. So we're on the right track. A lot of good things are happening, but we're not even close to where we want to be. So any questions from me?
I do have one question, sir.
Yes.
So in trying to understand this, I'm my way of trying to make sense of it is that post-secondary readiness, another way to say that would be that's the end zone.
Say that again.
that post-secondary readiness is the end zone. That's the goal.
Yep.
So I'm looking at all these boxes that say below target, below average, below target, and yet we're exceeding the target in post-secondary readiness. So is there a disconnect somewhere between these assessments and what the kids are actually doing?
Well, one of the things that really helps us here is the fact that we are very connected with Eastern Wyoming College, and we offer a ton of stuff through Eastern, the dual credit that we talked about. That really helps our kids in this area. Corey, anything you want to add to that? Yes. Corey or Lindsay or somebody?
Speaking with some of the state school board members, they're talking about changing some of the dynamics, like I think what Mr. Williams was saying in regards to going more aligned with profile of the graduate. So when we talk about post-secondary readiness, we're saying, do they have an ICR completion, which is in institution career readiness certificate. So like having an OSHA 10 cert or having a Snap-on cert, ag production or beef production. So there's different certifications within each CTE that students can attain in order to have that, like that readiness standard. The other thing is not necessarily for the traditional high schools, but for the alt school, is that students that are taking college credits as well also shows post-secondary readiness in that goes. And then with co-op, which is when they have a job, is when you start talking about internships. So if you know people that are willing to have students do internships, get them in contact with Ms. Russell.
And I also want to point out too, and this might help, is I think that the testing culture at Torrington High School has not, for different principals and for different years, for my daughter, I think that we didn't have a good testing culture, and that would speak directly to these test scores. It's not really, I don't think it's a good indicator of what their ability. I think these tests, because the culture of testing at the high school is getting much, much better, but it was not there before. So I think that is impacting these scores too.
Yeah, it is. I don't like to make excuses. It is what it is. So the culture's getting better. We saw that this recent go around with our STAR benchmark. Right now, the data that we're getting, we've got one class, our junior class, which has historically been low with testing, was our number one class with math. 68% were proficient. We didn't see those numbers hardly at all last year with any classes. That same class scored, one of our best with ELA reading. So the culture's improving, but we still have a lot of work to do.
I'm gonna switch gears entirely right now, so I apologize, but of course you may. You're good. You're good.
Briefly that they are going to change. Do you know what they're going to change? And is that coming specifically out of Cheyenne, or are they working with the districts to develop this?
So it's my hope they will work with the districts. That last week before it was actually about 48 hours before it was released was a pretty tense time because there was a desire and a proposal to drastically change this and actually just to go down to one indicator and say Torrington High School, you were partially not meeting, you get 1 star. Mr. Daly out at LaGrange, you had exceeds, you get 4 stars. And that was going to be the rating. That was going to be it. That was what you were going to get. And that was a very, very, because we know, I mean, this is hard to understand in one night for board members. I completely understand that. It's hard for us principals and administrators to go through and understand. So we are not saying this is the end all be all of rating a school or looking for improvement. But it far exceeds giving me a star as a school, because that does not tell any of the story. And we had schools in the state that were blue ribbon schools that are partially meeting, that would have gotten 2 stars. And so you have those different rankings and things. And it is my hope that, and there were many superintendents, many administrators, when that started to come out, volunteering to be part of a committee, to generate some ideas on what can we truly look at to gauge how our schools are doing and tell that story. Because we certainly, as you readily heard from almost every principal, we're not where we want to be. We're not claiming that we do not have work to do in different areas. That is not the claim whatsoever. But we also want a fair and accurate way of analyzing that information, setting goals, and then clearly articulating that to our students, our staff, and our community. And so I am hopeful that we will see a better system that is more understandable, because I think that's what we are looking for. Is there are pieces in this that are very difficult to explain. Correct. Yep.
It'll get much clearer then. Oh.
Trust us. Yeah.
I've done a question.
No, that was great. Thank you for asking that.
Thank you to the principals too for providing that information to us ahead of time. As a board member, it is very difficult to sit here and look at a screen, which by the way seemed to be out of focus. Maybe it's just me. Okay. So I do appreciate you guys getting that to us ahead of time.
So you around would have seen a two-pager that I want to kind of discuss here for a moment. And Marcy, please, if I incorrectly state something, please correct me. So this last week, there was a lot of conversation through either social media or different media outlets around external cost adjustment and what truly that means in relation to funding. One of the focuses that was really discussed, you may recognize this. This is a slide from Marcy's presentation on March 31st of this year, a special board meeting that we had to discuss what the legislature provided in an ECA. So an ECA is an external cost adjustment. And so really what it is it is our funding mechanism. It is a funding model on how we fund schools. And we break that apart in various ways: professional labor, non-professional labor, energy, educational materials, projected ADM, and it goes into this, transportation, special education reimbursement, contribution to the Wyoming retirement system, health insurance, and district allowable cash reserves is a component of that, and I'll get back down to that. One of the biggest things that was discussed this last week was professional labor in the ECA was 8.5%. So what an interpretation was made was, why didn't every school district in the state provide a salary increase of 8.5%? Then as you kind of learn some of the information and the ways that we fund districts in the state, we greatly appreciate the legislature providing an 8.5% in a funding model, along with 8.5 towards non-professional labor. This has not always been the case. There have been many years where they have not provided an ECA of any percentage. Also, one of the pieces that was in here was energy was reduced 6.258% in the external cost model. I see my home budget regularly. There has not been a 6% decrease in my energy costs, but the legislature decided, because of the variables they use, to fund the energy provision of the ECA at a 6% decrease. Then the educational materials were a 1% increase, which again, all goes into what is a categorical, no, not a categorical, it is a funding, well, block grant, correct. So it goes into a block grant to schools. So it's based on these ideas that they can either choose to increase that percentage or, as in the area of energy, decrease that. So the state in their ECA provided Goshen County schools with $1.297 million increase for those things: education materials, energy, non-professional labor, and professional labor. Okay, we did have a decrease of 23 students from our ADM, but with the 3-year average, this equal to a no change. There was no change. We're very, very fortunate. This is something that I strongly advocate and is a fantastic funding mechanism within the state. Transportation is reimbursed at 100%. Also, what is significant at the state level, which is very, very fortunate for our districts, is special education reimbursement is also at 100%. The Wyoming retirement system remained unchanged. Now, in the funding model, health insurance was unchanged. You'll find that for Goshen County Schools, our insurance did not remain unchanged. And then, of course, our district allowable cash reserves, we did, at the state level, they did increase that to allow for 30% of allowable cash reserves. So this is what the state piece puts in. And there's a specific number attached for Goshen County, and then a specific number of the funding. I'm going to go back up here to $1.2 million was allocated in various areas from the state. Now let's take a look at what also was presented in regards to salary relations. Our salary relations committee, just for everybody who may not know, our salary relations committee is made up of 5 teachers, 5 certified staff, 2 non-certified staff, 1 principal/activities director, 3 board members, the secretary to the board who takes notes but is not an active voting member, the business manager, the human resource director, and the superintendent. So this is a 15-member group that takes a look at the salary relations. This is not done in isolation. This is not done in isolation of the board only deciding this. It is actually a committee that meets for many hours to discuss what the ECA looks like, takes that information, and then what allocates that through a spending mechanism. What's important to know, what some of our legislatures did not have a complete grasp or understanding of, it seems, is the ECA is a funding model, not a spending model. There are ways, and the LSO has described what ways there might be for a spending model to say, we want exactly this much in each district. What they have done is provided you as board members the ability to take that 1.2 million and determine in Goshen County where should that best be allocated. So when we took that look at what should best be allocated of that 1.2 million, so cost of step movement, and this is just the movement of steps for staff, is $184,000. The cost of lane movement is $136,000. The cost of sustaining 3 early lit interventionalists, $120,000. Cost of sustaining 3 English language arts instructional coaches, $250,000. Cost of increasing certified administrator and extra duty base 3%, $376,000. Cost of increasing the classified base by 6%, $239,000. Cost of funding 88% of increase of health insurance. Again, this was something that in the ECA was determined that should be no increase. We had an increase of $316,000. The approximate cost of adding 6 new positions was $440,000. Cost of adding alternative class sponsors and extra duties, $1,393, and then adding psychologists, related service providers, and retention incentive, and a savings by changing the psychologist incentive of $18,000. So when you take all of those dollars that went towards staffing, which was allocated about 1.2 million from the ECA, the district and the board decided to allocate 2.1 million. As you can see, far exceeding the ECA. So the idea that the board or the salary committee shorted the staff or individuals from Goshen County in regards to spending really does not necessarily hold water, with 2.1 million being expended from our general fund to meet the needs of the salaries of staff. Those are the 2 numbers that I really focus on, the 1.2 and 2.1. That is a big deal. because that is pieces that really show that accurate information and what the board did and has done. Because when you take a look over the last 10 years, and I'm just going to reference off my last information on non-certified staff. If we went by the ECA since 2017, the ECA was roughly about 19%. We've increased our base salary for non-certified staff 43%. The board over the last 9 years has looked out for its employees and done a great job in supporting those. And we had that conversation this spring in our through salary relations, a lot of conversation related to that also. Marcy, what did I mess up?
I think what you provided was very accurate. The only piece that I would maybe add or insert in for people not understanding ECA, those in the private world, it's often referred to as a cost of living adjustment. So that may also be a way to equate it. The concept of an increase to wages, that was not what was in the House bill. The House bill specifically had it identified as an ECA. So the thought is the legislature does not have the capability to micromanage the manner in which the board chooses to expend the dollars. It's there. The document up there projected, that was a recommendation from salary relations brought to the board, and that was board approved at the April board meeting with the compensation package. So we are going into carryover. I mean, that was a big point of discussion that the district, the board chose to expend greater than what the ECA generated.
Thank you, Marcy. Any questions from board members regarding that information?
Just to better understand your comment about historically. So historically, had the legislature provided ECA?
So that's a great question. Actually, not, and this doesn't really tell the best story, but I'm going to bring up this document just for actually the purposes of ECA history, not necessarily comparability. But you'll see, so this goes back, this is actually certified staff base increases. This column is what the district was able to provide. This is the ECA for that year for staff. 2017, 2018, 0%. 2018, 2019, 0%. 2020, 2021, 0%. 2021, 22, 0%. 2022, 23, 0%. We do greatly appreciate, and I don't want to minimalize this, 8.5 ECA, we are very thankful for the legislature in passing that. The accuracy and disheartening information now in regards to legislature saying they didn't understand is very disheartening. I wholeheartedly would support they did something this last year to make up for previous years, and I greatly appreciate that. But if we were to make up for those years missed, you'll notice, and it's not a great comparison, this isn't apples to apples, but in certified staff, we've increased the base 26% in 9 years. And that's certified staff. In non-certified staff, it's even more significant. At 48%, we've increased that base. So we as a, and you, let me rephrase that, you as a board have committed to making sure staff are appropriately funded and maintaining Goshen County in the way that it should be, and also appropriately looked at our cash, what we refer to as cash reserve, but we refer here in carryover, to make sure that we're appropriately spending that.
I think that what's disheartening is the insinuation that we as the board would do anything to cause harm to the staff financially or in any other way. I'm one of the three that sits in salary relations. We worked very, very hard on this. It is primarily made up of staff. I will admit I sit back and listen because this isn't my wheelhouse. But it is incredibly offensive that anyone could think that we pour our blood, sweat, and tears into this board to harm any of our staff. That's not why we're here. And so when this came about, and I appreciate the board members that brought it to our attention, and Mr. Kramer and Ms. Cates, quickly being able to pull these numbers to show that we have not done anything wrong. And in fact, it was a misapplication and playing with numbers, frankly. We are living in a really ugly time right now where people are quick to point fingers and it gets ugly very quickly. And I am discouraged that some of that finger pointing happens within our own house. And so I'm hoping that we can continue to communicate better and ask the questions and understand before we start to do that. So I am proud of this board. I'm proud of the Salary Relations Committee because I think that they did really good work and we will continue to do so as best we can. So, all right.
I'll just add one more thing.
Yeah.
And I
please,
thank you
Trustee
very
Goulart.
much for these numbers. These numbers need to be posted in response to some of those articles that have been posted.
I would agree.
I'll see to that. Thank you. That was it. We've probably given this thing more oxygen than it needs, but I was also part of salary relations, and that was, we did that under the specter of reduction in forces.
Right.
And had it been communicated clearly to us that we were going to get this big box of money from the legislature, reduction in forces wouldn't have been something we were talking about. It would have been silly to have that discussion. So that's number one. Number two, Cheyenne engaged in a little bit of political theater, and that's probably all there is to say about that. The reason I want to say anything about it at all is just because in everything that we do, this board represents a pretty broad spectrum of opinions and ideas. And sometimes you'll see that play out here in these meetings. You'll see it play out in the way we vote. But one thing that made my, I don't know, struck my further wrong way or something, I don't know, was to suggest that we were involved in some sort of nefarious goings. I don't know, maybe there's other districts that have nefarious things going on. I don't know. That's not our circus and those aren't our monkeys. But one of the things that's common amongst all 9 of us is that in every discussion we have, whether it's out here or whether it's in executive session, we are trying to figure out how to be the best employer we can possibly be and deliver the best product to the parents that we possibly can. So don't let the disagreements that show up once in a while make you think that that's not our goal. So that's it. I think that's probably enough said.
You, Trustee Goulart.
Madam Chair, I would have one more item to share. And that's simply that some of you may have seen a document from LSO that did compare districts, and it referenced an increase to FY 25-26 salaries. I think it's very important for people to understand that when LSO prepares their documents, they're using a lot of formulas, they're using a lot of assumptions, and they're using a lot of pro formas. In that when they're stating increases to FY 25-26 salaries, they don't have that information yet from the districts. So they're making assumptions based upon what they think 25-26 salaries will be. That what I mean is we're required, if you think about it, in January, there is a salary report that is required to be published in the newspaper. We as a district have a formal report that we have to provide that information to WDE. And at that time, then true calculations can be prepared based upon average salaries and increases from prior years. But there's not a true average salary yet that's been calculated for FY 25-26. And if you ever see any of those kind of reports and you're wondering and questioning, feel free to come see me or Mr. Kramer. And I'm happy to share with you how information is calculated, derived, and where it's coming from.
All right. Does that conclude the superintendent's report?
That does.
Quite
It was quite
report
lengthy
today.
tonight. Yeah, it was.
All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does any of the board members wish to poll any of the consent agenda items? With that, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second? May I have a second? Thank you. Any discussion or questions? All right, all those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On to new business. First up is consider approval of offering an employment agreement for a district social worker. And this is for Jimmy Courtney. May I have a motion? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of offering an employment agreement for a district social worker to Jimmy Courtney, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is to consider approval of special education contract for student placement services. And this is with the Judge Rottenberg, is that right? Rottenberg Education Center, Inc. For student number 1716 from September 10, 2025 through June 30 of 26, not to exceed $196,111.14 from the general fund. May I have a motion? Is there a second? Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the special education contract for student placement services with Judge Rottenberg Education Center, Inc., please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is to consider approval of a special education contract for student placement with BOCES 5CV Ranch. And that's to provide residential and educational placement services to student 2832 from September 18, 2025 through June 30 of 26, not to exceed $244,660 from the general fund. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Sure.
How did we decide, like, the difference, there's a big difference in the amount. And so how did we decide, or who decides how?
Typically, it's part of either, there are two ways for placements. Typically, maybe family placement. And then if family placement becomes involving, then we look at the educational placement along with the individualized education plan, if that student is on an individualized education plan. Some also times it's related to court services. And so court services then place, and then that's kind of dictated to us in relation to where that would be the best placement for that student. We're involved in the conversations. The challenge is, and as you've noticed, is any placement is extremely costly. Again, I kind of want to go back. One of the very important things in Wyoming that I strongly advocate for is the full reimbursement of special education. If we were in another state, we would not have full reimbursement of special education, and these would be general fund expenditures. Now, add the year we incur them. Right now, they are general fund, but we will have reimbursement for those in future years. So, excellent question. Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving a special education contract with BOCES 5CV Ranch, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is to consider approval of renewal of the huddle subscriptions per district policy 3420. This is subscriptions for Torrington High School and Southeast High School for the 25-26 school year in the amount of $16,000. May I have a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
What does huddle do?
Mr. Williams would like. to
I was gonna
answer.
say, Mr. Williams, he was wanting to. He loved, yeah.
Contract here, Price, which it was the major player in that market at that time. Now, the FHS has bought another, their play on sports, and we moved to that in the future. This is the last year of our contract for us anyways to hit this. And they film every game. They have stats breakdown. They break it completely apart. So as a coach, like our football coaches go in and get on a run play, and it shows them every run play from a football game. And then you can share it with people throughout the state. It's stats stuff. It does all sorts of stuff.
Is it more reliable than NFHS?
No.
Yeah. I mean, frankly, I told Mr. Kramer this week, I'm kind of tired of buying things that don't work.
I believe that was when I entered the.
We'll be moving. If they have anything next year, they are on the same upgrade. Stuff is acquisition, and they are.
Fantastic, thank you. Does Lingle not like to do these things?
They don't play sports. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding.
Thank you.
So you use it, it just doesn't rise to the level of this subscription. Okay.
The analytics. With it, you can find any player on the court anytime and say, hey, I want to right corner three, get made or missed. Focus on trends, meet with the kids and say, hey, you're making these ones because of this, missing these ones because of that. Shows you different, any stat that you could ever imagine at your fingertips in regard to huddle and huddle assist. Is also a good recruiting tool for our athletes to get exposure out to different schools. A lot of different schools use it. Post their social media accounts and they're the ones that look into it and see those and help that recruiting process.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor of approving the renewal of the huddle subscriptions for Torrington High School and Southeast High School, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is to consider approval of purchase of a laser engraver per District Policy 3420. And this is a large-scale professional CO2 laser engraver system for LFL Technology Education Program from EMP Corp. In the total amount of $28,886.44. May I have a motion? Thank you. May I have a second? Is there any discussion?
Yeah, what kind of cool things can you make with the CO2 laser engraver?
Actually, the one that they're getting today, it's also in the laser engraved cup systems get doing 6 at a time through the programming, the setup. Have a plan that does laser engraving as a hobby, and the things sky's what they and he's actually going to be used as part of a business program. Is what they tend to do as well.
So now is it more decorative stuff or can you do fabrication with it or?
Wow.
And I don't know if any of the other schools have this, but do we ever share resources between the schools? Like if Torrington was interested in doing something, or would we need to buy another?
In most cases, we buy, but there's options of always visiting another department. I can't think of offhand, Tim or Corey or can you remember?
Twice comparable, twice. And come with software upgrade, as you can imagine, one we have is 13 years old, that's like sticks and stones. And
And they have various tools at each department depending upon kind of what programs or courses they're kind of focused on too. Because I know Southeast has what is the machine that cuts the signs and so yeah, it kind of goes back and forth between that. You would not be able to move those items once they're in place, but the ability to kind of use different items and things are always available there.
Any further questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the purchase of the large-scale professional CO2 laser engraver system for LFL, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is to consider approval of the purchase of a portable sawmill per district policy 3420. This is a sawmill for the Southeast High School Technology Education Program from Wood Miser in the total amount of $12,960.53. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Yeah, Mr. Weber, would you like to speak to it?
Material cost. When we're looking at, I think it's got a 35-inch throat. So if anybody has big trees in your yard, they come up missing.
Or somebody would gladly donate.
And maybe more of the furniture side of stuff, that we can slab out that material.
Fantastic. Awesome. Any further questions or discussion? Thank you,
Madam
Mr.
Chair,
Yes.
I was just wondering, is this going to be ran by the students or just the faculty?
This will be run by me with student involvement.
Sure.
If we look at the safety aspect, it's probably one of the safer tools I have in my shop.
I don't know what that's saying.
Well, can I see both your hands? Okay. Just kick it. Okay, I appreciate it. No, thank you. I just wanted to make sure we were, who was running it. Wasn't sure.
I'm keeping that to myself.
too.
Any other questions or discussion?
Madam Chair. I would point out with the portable sawmill that myself, Mr. Derby, and Mr. Weber did have a conversation with our insurance, and they were in favor of the purchase.
You didn't run the laser engraver by them, but you did the sawmill?
We're good with lasers.
This is
yeah.
not making sense. Thank you, Ms. Cates. All right, all those in favor of approving the purchase of the portable sawmill system for Southeast High School, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Congrats, Mr. Weber. Next is to consider approval of the purchase of district custodial supplies per district policy 3420. This is from Bluff Sanitary Supplies in the amount of $29,722.35. May I have a motion? A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor of approving the purchase of these custodial supplies from Bluff Sanitary Supplies, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is to consider approval of the renewal of District Verkada platform for District Policy 3420. This is the Verkada license for district cameras, door environmental sensors, security, and access control platforms in the total amount of $63,385.62. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Mike's here to answer questions. All right, with no questions or discussion. I lost my screen. All those in favor of approving, where are we at? The renewal of the Verkada license for district cameras in the amount of $63,385.62. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next is a consider approval of the proposed revisions to District Policy 1250, which is visitors to school. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll
Any discussion?
I would offer a suggestion in relation to page 98, just for clarification purposes that might assist the board in the interpretation of the policy. So if you go down to the last paragraph, photography and recording, this is the one that was referenced in public comment. I do not have a problem with adding the words after audio recordings of students. So the adjusted policy would read, to protect the privacy and safety of students and staff, visitors are not permitted to take photographs, videos, or audio recordings of students on school grounds during the school day unless authorized explicitly by the principal.
You need that in the form of a motion, Mr.
I
Kramer.
would like that in the form of a motion to amend the original with that. If that could be done, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
So then I would make the motion to revise that statement to read of students after audio recordings. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? This is pertaining to the motion that is revising this policy. All right, all those in favor of revising the policy as presented by Superintendent or by Mr. Kramer, as stated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Go back.
So now we need to go back to the original motion, approving the proposed revisions of District Policy 1250. Do we have a motion on that?
Yes, motion and second.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the proposed revisions to District Policy 1250 pertaining visitors to school as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of proposed revisions to District Policy 4119.70/4219.50, which is staff conflicts of interest, and renumber to 4307, staff conflicts of interest. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions? All right, all of those in favor of approving the proposed revisions to District Policy 4119.7 and 4219.5 as presented on first reading and renumbering to 4307, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Lastly is to consider approval of new District Policy 4253, which is retirement and resignation of classified staff as presented on introduction and first reading. May I have a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion or questions? With that, all those in favor of approving new District Policy 4253, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That will conclude our new business and on to board topics for discussion. Do any of the board members have anything you'd like to discuss? Trustee Steinbach.
I had talked with Mr. Kramer prior to this and told him that I was going to ask this question. When the faculty or teachers who have taken professional development credits through Idaho State University, the Salary Relations Committee had a long discussion about no longer allowing those credits to be accepted to move on the pay scale. And I received several comments from staff who didn't understand why. And I also did not understand why. So I asked Mr. Kramer to give me some more information and to go through the course descriptions just to make sure, because those classes are incredibly affordable for our teachers to be able to take those. And they still do they still can take those for professional development. They just can't, the Salary Relations Committee had decided that it isn't appropriate to accept them as graduate credit. And so I had a lot of people who in the staff who were concerned about that. And so I have asked Mr. Kramer to expand on the reason as to why the salary committee made that decision. So if you would be willing to do that, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely. One of the things, actually, we promoted that coursework a couple of years ago, and then had the opportunity to more discuss that as we were starting to get through applications. And I shared this with Trustee Steinbach. Over the years, we had a dramatic increase of staff looking to move lanes, which is a positive thing, but also was an anomaly compared to previous years. Then we started getting transcripts of these courses. So typically, graduate credit hours for someone who's a full-time employee are typically challenging to kind of maintain and get through a program. We had a number of staff being able to acquire 30 credit hours in one spring semester. So that kind of raised a little bit more interest from us, and then in looking into it. As we started to receive then the transcripts, on the transcripts from the university, it identified these specific courses as professional development courses, not as grad level courses. So if you go to their website, it specifically shows differences between their grad credits, which for cost for graduate credits are significantly higher and have a much higher level of rigor to accomplish those grad level credits, where professional development credits, typically, as we have accepted them and the state accepts them, is for relicensure. And so that's, but we have not accepted those for lane movements. So in having that conversation through salary relations, discussing, here's what we're seeing, here's the rigor level of those courses, that there is great content in those courses, but they certainly don't rise to the level of a grad course, which is for lane movement. So we set then specific dates outlined for staff to complete their coursework if they were in the middle of those courses, but then set a date that we would no longer, after this fall, September 15th, would accept those Idaho professional development credits. We will accept grad credits from the Idaho University, but would not accept the professional development credits from there, nor would we accept professional development credits from any other college or university for lane advancement.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just think it was important to bring it out in an open meeting so that staff who are listening could understand that, because it helped me to really understand it when I saw the information. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I think it's a good reminder that when we make these decisions, we need more communication behind the why, right? I mean, we just get lost in the details sometimes. So I appreciate the reminder, Trustee Steinbach. Any other topics that the board wants to discuss?
I'd like to know more about the Renaissance Accelerated Reader.
As would I. I don't remember why that was stopped.
We can definitely elaborate because there's a lot of information we'd love to share on that, actually. So we can do that at next month's meeting. I think, Mr. Derby, we can put that together pretty easily. So not a problem.
One thing I wanted to remind the board, and I know I did this one other time, is as we just from this meeting, we recognize how difficult it is to understand recalibration and understand how schools are funded. And so I just, again, want to point out that October 28th and 29th in Casper, there's a recalibration meeting that, and it will be available Zoom. So if any board members are interested in participating in that, well, not really participating, but listening to see, to get more information about recalibration, I would encourage it because as the years go, we're going, with the property tax decrease, we are going to really be struggling to make our budget and to fund everything we want to fund in this district. And I think that it's important to understand that recalibration. If you can't understand it, it's difficult. It's a difficult topic, but the more information we have as board members, I think the better off we will be when we go in to approve a budget for upcoming years. So I just want to remind board members about that.
How will the link be distributed? Do you know?
It usually is on the website of the, not LSO, but the
Well, I mean, it's legislative.
Yeah, you're right.
the legislative
LSO.
site. Yeah,
Okay.
they have a link right there.
Okay.
For all their meetings, like joint appropriations and whatever, but there will be one for the recalibration.
Great, thank you.
And as I understand, you can go back to, and there's some very good information that was from last week also that kind of gives, sometimes it gets a little convoluted in things and you have to sort through, but there's some good information to be had there.
Right. Any other topics that the board would like to discuss? I apologize. Trustee Chairs doesn't remember either. Where did we land on whether or not we move around to the other schools for meetings? Did we make a decision on that? So it just reminds me tonight, when Mrs. Retz was up talking about information getting to us, right? Or teachers participating in decisions and so forth. That was kind of like my goal in going out to all of the other schools. She was one of them that attended at LFL and was fantastic in getting us information, but it wasn't very well attended by others. And so if there are other manners in which we can communicate better, right, with everyone as a board, I'm all ears. And I'm all ears if the board has any ideas as well. I don't know. I don't know how well received going out to all the different schools was in encouraging that communication, but I can't really tell if the board is interested in this topic or just appeases me because I keep bringing it up.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I actually enjoyed going to the other schools. And I do believe at some of the schools, I mean, LaGrange was well attended. I remember that. But maybe it's because they like.
Oh, yes, we know Mr. Daly. Yep.
But I enjoyed it.
He
It
fed
took out
everybody.
The hassle for Mike. And that is an issue. But I do think it's nice to be seen in the other communities.
Okay, I may ask this board at the next meeting to take action on that. So we can stop kicking it down the road. Okay. All right, any other topics the board would like to discuss? Okay, with that, future meetings. So we have the work session on September 18th, 2025 at 5 o'clock here at Central. It says with WSBA, but it's just with Brian Farmer. So I've invited Mr. Farmer to come in and speak with us about how to be an effective board. And kind of the goal is to go through our board evaluations, which we still have not done yet. So he's going to help us navigate that and kind of talk us through that. We're a fairly new board together, 9 months in, but still kind of learning how to work together and so forth. And so hopefully he can help facilitate that a little bit more as well. Next regular board meeting is October 14th at 6 o'clock here at Central. And then the WSBA annual conference will be held at the Casper Ramkota on November 19th through the 21st at 2025. The delegate assembly is on Wednesday at 1:30. Rooms have been booked. Anything else?
I just encourage board members if they're interested. It's a great conference. I know your schedules are extremely busy, so I completely understand. But if you do have the opportunity, it's a great opportunity to learn and network with other board members across the state.